Milan blog. In this video, I'm going to be talking about shopping in Milan. But it's a video for girls, ladies, and young people who are figuring on buying better quality, stylish clothing for between €80 and €300. In other words, on the scale between 5,000 and 20,000 rubles for one item. I live in Moscow myself, so I know very well how hard it is for girls here to find an attractive, good quality dress. Anything priced between 5,000 to 10,000 rubles is either designed like a sack or is made from something like floor cloth. The only worthwhile things we can find in Moscow go for 30,000 rubles and up. So where does that leave girls whose average salary, if we believe that statistics, runs at around 30,000 to 50,000 rubles? And that's in Moscow. So what's going on in the provinces, where salaries can be knocking on around 6,000 to 15,000 rubles? If these ladies don't have a wealthy husband or well-heeled relations, and have to depend on their own earnings for their living, then when it comes to buying clothes in Russia, she's going to look very down-market and dowdy. Of course, there is an alternative, which is to have clothes made for you to order. Yet it's an alternative that very few people are willing to take. And there are reasons for that. Firstly, it takes up inordinate amounts of time. Women want to look fashionable and attractive, no matter what their age is. But wages in Russia are very low, and unfortunately, it's very hard to make your pay stretch as far as it needs. As an English language teacher, I used to teach not only expensive private individual lessons, but group lessons in different commercial companies too. All of my female students, without exception, wanted to buy some clothing items or other. So they got credit from somewhere to buy a snakeskin bag, borrowed money from a friend for a new dress. I heard it so often, how hard it is to dress adequately in Moscow. People just don't have the money they need for clothes. I think all of you reading, girls or guys, will be nodding along in agreement. So if you can rustle up 15,000 to 20,000 for an air ticket to Milan, a modest hotel for days, and a shopping budget of between 100,000 and 150,000 rubles, then this video is for you. It's worth making trip to a destination like this once a year, so that you're not left fretting about your wardrobe for the rest of the year. I've been on shopping trips to Paris, Cannes, Rome, and Vienna, and of course there are beautiful, well-made and stylish things to buy there. But I haven't seen an expensive Italian brand-name clothing in any of those destinations. Everything in those cities costs significantly more. We're not going to be discussing luxury clothing or footwear brands like Gucci, Cassidy, Chanel, or Bloomerine here. Of course, if you have the budget for them, you can find these famous brands on the upscale boulevards of any city in any country. For example, in Milan itself, they are on Via della Spiga, Via Monte Napoleone, and on two more ritzy streets, which run off Via Monte Napoleone and della Spiga to form a square. In this video, I'm going to be talking about stocks and outlet stores, which offer savings of between 50 to 70% on luxury clothing brand items from their outgoing collections. But I'm also going to mention great Italian brands which aren't well known in Moscow, yet offer stylish, high-quality items for absolutely acceptable prices. My first trip to Milan was 6 years ago, when the euro exchange for the ruble was running around 30 rubles. At that time, I was hoping to buy clothing from luxury brands like Prada, Cavalli, and so on. In regular boutiques, since I hadn't come at the right time for the sales, the prices were running the same as in Moscow, like for like. So I decided instead to try the outlet stores, particularly the ones which are located on the city outskirts of Milan. These stores offer special buses to reach them, so that you can get to places like Serravalle Outlet. This is a location with a large number of stores featuring stock and brand name items at deep discounts. You might end up spending the whole day there, but you're still unlikely to buy anything, because the range of goods on offer is pretty unexciting. As far as I could see, most of the stuff on offer there was from liquidations. That's the reason why I wouldn't recommend wasting time on this outlet store, or on others of the same kind on the city outskirts, such as Foxtown. I also took a glance along Milan's most famous shopping street, Corso Buenos Aires. Corso Buenos Aires is a long avenue which runs for several kilometers. Yet no matter how long I looked, it seemed as though the things on sale were all very strange, and selling for 150 and up. The range of items seemed strange to me too. These are the reasons why my shopping safari to Milan 6 years ago didn't work out. Instead, I returned home to Moscow with my spending budget practically untouched. Even so, 3 years later, I decided to give Milan another try. This time, I found more interesting shops, which I found very worth my time and efforts. Since that trip, Milan has been my favorite shopping destination. Of course, I love Paris too, but it seems to be that the shopping there is pricier. But Paris is a great city for hanging out. And on my Marina Bystrova YouTube channel, you can find my Paris shopping video, where I go into a lot more detail about what Paris has to offer. Now have a look at this outlet store in the very center of Milan, with 200 square meters of floor space on the ladies' clothing floor, and a similar area for the men's clothing floor too. I was very pleasantly surprised by this outlet. The range of items on offer is great. For example, you can get a Paco Rabanne purse for 30 euros, and they have famous name brand handbags at low prices, as well as umbrellas, shoes, dresses, and suits. If you only visit one outlet store, you can find everything here in one whole day, instead of 3. You can watch the continuation of my Milan shopping video in part 2 and part 3.